You want to know what one of the best values in old illustrated classic literature is? Heritage Press books. Let's take a look at what they're all about. Hi, I'm Jim. Welcome to Great Books, Big Ideas, where we talk about classic literature and themes and all kinds of fun stuff like that. On this video, I want to do a very brief introduction to Heritage Press. And this was a company that was part of the George Macy Companies. And George Macy was like an entrepreneur, a publisher who got going in the late 1920s. And he started with the limited editions book club in the late 20s, early 30s. And they published classic literature in illustrated editions, in limited editions. And these were signed by the illustrator, and in some rare instances when there was a living author, they were signed by the author too. And these were limited print runs, like 1,500 copies in most cases. And they are very cool books. And I have a few copies here. I'm not going to talk about them now. I want to focus on Heritage Press, which are the much more widely available ones. So he derived this from limited editions book club, and he came up with these, I wouldn't call them collectible editions, but they're really fine books. Like maybe they're not a cut below the limited editions book quality, but honestly, like, I find them to be pretty much just as nice. And these came in slipcases. They have little newsletter ephemera to describe what's in the book. And they're just lovely illustrated volumes they have great shelf appeal, but they're a lot of fun to read too. So if you love classic literature, if you love illustrated books, and you're looking for some bargains, check out Heritage Press. And you see these often in the used bookshops, and you'll develop an eye for what they look like. I'm going to look at one title today in some depth, and it's pretty important to me because this is the one Heritage Press title which I got, and it clicked with me, and I realized what I had in my hands, and I said, I like this publisher, and I want to collect more books by this publisher. And the book in question is right here, Omu by Herman Melville. You see it's in a slipcase, and it has an interesting cover, and it has the Sandglass insert, which talks about the book. Let's go over to the document cam, and I'm going to talk more in depth about this title. And here is Omu by Herman Melville. Comes in the slipcase. Let's take that out. And you can see what a lovely front cover this is. Let me walk you through this book real quickly. Here is the Sandglass, what these do is they contain, this is issued monthly to the members of the Heritage Club, located in New York City on West 25th Street. And you have a little bit of an introduction to the book. Then you have an introduction to the author. And then an introduction to sort of what the book's about and the introducer. And then you have a section about the illustrator. So you get their biography and their approach to illustrating. And then you get more information about the typography and the design and who was responsible for that. And let's take a look at this lovely wood engraving. The wood engravings are by Reynolds Stone. Van Wyck Brooks wrote the introduction here, published by Heritage Press in New York. And you can see the special contents of this edition are copyright 1967, so this was a little bit of a later one. George Macy had passed away by that point, and I think his wife ran the business for a while, and then it got handed over to her son, I think, for a few years. And eventually Easton Press acquired the books, and they have been actually reissuing some of these. Getting back to why I bought this book, I can see here in pencil, I think this book cost me $20, which was a little high, but I was really attracted to the quality of the book. It says 1967 limited edition, so maybe that added some value to it. I don't know why they would call it limited edition, because Heritage Press books tended not to be limited, but maybe in this case it was. I don't know. Anyway, I'll give you a few details about the cover design. The lush tropical scene is an enlargement of one of Reynolds Stone's illustrations, and the book designer, John Dreyfus, just wanted to convey, the South Seas adventure of this storyline. So Omu is Melville's second novel. His first novel was Taipei, and these are about his South Sea adventures in the Marquesas Islands. And Melville and a friend jumped ship and sort of escaped onto these and went native, lived with the native islanders. And he wrote a couple books about it. And these were very popular. They were bestsellers. And Omu is the second of those. And this is all before Moby Dick was ever written. One thing I love about these Sandglasses is how they give you so much detail about the composition of the book. So you find out what font it was written in, what typeface, the size, the leading, the quality of the binding, and all of that, where it was printed. So this one happened to be printed by the Connecticut printers in Bloomfield, and it's on special kind of paper, which was manufactured at the Monadnock Mill in Bennington, New Hampshire. And you can't feel this, but this is actually like cloth, and it has a texture to it, and it just feels so cool to the touch. So when I pulled this out of the slipcase, I was very taken with it. I thought, wow, this is really a nice looking book. And generally the people who wrote the introductions to these books are pretty big names in the field. So Van Wyck Brooks is a famous critic, and you get just a few pages of introduction here to set the tone. But what struck me here is just the quality of the typography. The pages are clean, and I love this font, and so much so that when I found it in the Sandglass, I looked it up online. I downloaded the font. The font is Monotype Plantin, Plantin, and everything is just beautiful here. And look at these woodcut engravings. And as I was going through this book, I read it immediately. It's the book. This is interesting how they do the numbered chapters. These are set in thorn shaded, and the chapter titles are in Monotype Perpetua 13. But what I was very taken with the book, and as I started to read it, it didn't take me long to get through it, and I was struck by how enjoyable it was to hold in my hands, how enjoyable it was to read. And for those of us who are getting a little long in the tooth, and our eyes maybe aren't what they used to be, the bigger pages, the bigger point size is very easy on the eyes. It's a pleasure to read. And pretty much all the Heritage Press titles convey that look and feel. So this is just giving you a taste for what these books look like. They're all different. They use different illustrators. They had a stable of people they kept going back to, but each book is unique in terms of its typography, its size, its layout, its paper, and so forth. But wow, you know, these are just a joy to read. And it's a cool novel. Like people, you know, always, they jump immediately to Moby Dick, and they think of these early books as just about, you know, adventure stories and romance, but there is a lot more to it than that, because it's Herman Melville we're talking about. And Type E is an excellent book too. So I can't think of a nicer edition of Omu that I have come across. And hopefully you enjoyed this tour through it and recognize how nice these books can look. That's Omu, published by Heritage Press in 1967. The classics which are our heritage from the past, in editions which will be the heritage of the future. I hope you enjoyed that book tour of Omu by Herman Melville, published by Heritage Press. Isn't this just a lovely book? They really are treasures. And what I most like about them is how affordable they are. You know, I paid $20 for this, but I would say 90% of the Heritage Press books that I own, I probably got for like $8 to $10, maybe 15 tops. That's less than you pay for like a paperback these days. Let's put this guy back on the shelf, and hopefully we'll talk more about Heritage Press books in future episodes. Let me know what you think of these titles. Are you a Heritage Press fan? Do you collect them? What are some of your favorite ones? Leave a comment. I love to read those, and it's great to share your knowledge with the audience. Also, if you're new to the channel, hope you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Thanks for watching. See you next time on Great Books, Big Ideas.